The last topic we work on lesson 2, excavating and lifting, is about lifting. And when we talking about lifting, we talk about the cranes. So the purpose is to transport, lift the material, etc. So in terms of cranes, of course, you will see many types of cranes. But here, for classification, basically, we have two major types, and each of them have some sub-classification. The first one, we can say that is a mobile crane. So the crane itself can be moved around to transport the material. And for mobile cranes, it can be on tire, or it can be on crawler mounting. And the other major type of cranes, we call that tower cranes. So it fixed during the construction process, construction operation, and that we call tower cranes. Tower cranes. And in tower cranes, we also have three subtype. The first one, horizontal chip. Horizontal chip. And then we have looping boom. And the last one of the tower cranes, that is articulated chip. So what is that about? Let's go to a slide to see some visual type of these cranes and then its application. As you can see, the first one is mobile crane in here, and typically you have the on the left side, it's a crawler mounting, and they have a boom, they have a cable, boom extension, the hook, etc. And then on your right side, we have a mobile crane with a tire, and it can lift the material with the hook, with the boom, and use hydraulic on that mobile cranes. In terms of application, as you can see in here, we may use the outriggers to improve the tipping load, that I will talking about those concept later on. With this mobile crane, and this one apply, and this is a big mobile crane apply in San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge, a big bridge in the Bay Area, California, where the picture that I took during the construction of this. And then the crane can be put on barge. If you do bridge, do some installation or load in a big project case. Also the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge, taken by my friends who work on that project as well. And as you can see here, this crane can lift up to like 300 tons of prefabricated component deck of a bridge. And here, guess where this mobile crane and what project is about. If you remember, even now it's virtual, but if you recall, this is South Village, Southie, near the cafeteria, and during the construction of one of the residential hall that you see there, and use mobile cranes to upload prefabricated concrete panel, beams, column, etc. And then talk about the tower cranes. What you see here is the horizontal chip, and there are multiple tower cranes that you can see in this big construction site, and all of that is fixed on the ground during the construction, so they have a temporary foundation to support that. And then for the major type of tower crane that I listed earlier, you can see the first one, horizontal chip. Basically the boom is horizontal, and then looping boom, and of course the next one is articulated chip. Normally can use for all of this high-rise building, etc. Using looping boom or articulated chip, maybe improve the loading, the radius, etc. But of course compromise with the control of the tower cranes. For the how to assemble this tower crane before construction and how to disassemble, I have a video here. And then if you go to slide, the link, you can be able to see how people are going to set up this tower crane and disassemble that. I suggest you to look at that as well. And this one I took in June 2019 in the Tampa. And as you can see, this one, guess which type of crane is that? Horizontal chip, looping boom, or articulated chip? You see the boom horizontal, keep the same, and that should be the horizontal chip for these tower cranes. And this one, tower crane looping boom, also used for the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge. And you can see that the boom are not the chip are not horizontal, as you can see there, so it can be lift up and down with the angles. So for tower crane, normally each tower crane, the manufacturer give you the maximum capacity for different lifting radius. So what you see the table here, for every tower crane we need to have this kind of manual to see how much weight I can lift with the given radius applied for that project. So for example, in this case, you see on the first column, you see the lift radius, depends on the site, and the boom length of the equipment. So it's the word in the middle, it show you the load, and the load, it can be in term of pounds or in term of ton, etc. So it's or kilograms. So keep that in mind when you pick the number. So how can we apply that in a real application? And that is the next I apply for problem 3 right after a few terminology that we use in cranes follow in the note here. So that is about the tower crane. So let me feel terminology before we apply that. How to choose a crane or how to check a crane is good for an application. So let's talk about the term. In cranes, terminology in cranes. So a few things that you see. The first, we need to know the factor, the major factor controlling the load is the operating radius. Okay, so the first one, we need to know what is the operating radius. So for operating radius, it's basically a function of two major variables, So I put here a function of what? The first one, and you can see that is boom length. And it also the boom angles. What is the angle from the horizontal surface that the boom form? So that is boom angle. That are two things determine the operating radius. And that, of course, if you think about the poly geometry of that, so that is operating radius. The cranes, whether it include or not include the outrigger, also detect the load that they can carry. So The next term is outrigger. Outrigger. Outriggers. So what is outriggers? So basically the beam that widen the effective base of the crane so that it improve the amount of counterweight and it improve the amount of load. Okay, so that is outrigger. So let's write down the beam normally have 4 or more that widen the effective base of a crane. And the last terminology that we are referring in crane, that is the tipping load. And you can see, and you read the news sometime, the crane is fall out because loading, and that detected by the tipping load. So what is the tipping load? Basically the load that will cause the crane to actually begin to tip, and that unsafe, right? So we need to consider that load that will cause the crane to actually begin to tip. So those are the key concepts of the cranes, and in the next video, the last video for this lesson, I will discuss and apply this for problem 3.